going to be doing covering the '85 WWF Topps set. Anybody have some initial thoughts about this set? Nothing.
Well, you mean in terms of like if it's good,
when did you first discover it? When did you first discover it?
Well,
I discovered it in '85. That's my first that I ever collected was '85 Topps.
Yeah, no, I bought a couple packs in '85, and like I have said, in other interviews, in 1985, Dwight Gooden was all the rage. So, if you're a young guy like me that had limited means, you bought a few WWF packs, but most of the money was going towards baseball. So, but I mean, everybody sort of knew at the time that Hogan had a card, but I honestly don't think it was very heavily collected.
No, as a matter of fact, at one point in time that '85 Topps ended up being what they call it, a blowout. So it's called dump product. So when you find boxes with a black mark across, it's like that. That was signified by the distributor that it was dumped. So he did that with Star Wars products. All those releases from Star Wars, most of the stuff from the '70s and '80s ended up getting dumped at some point in time. So it's very hard to find a box that doesn't have a black mark across it.
Yeah, and I was totally into my sports cards, the popular sports, baseball, football, basketball, until the early '90s when all the different sets started coming out, and I was a completist. And once all the different inserts came out, I just kind of gave up. And that was also when I got into college and cards weren't that big a deal. And then I discovered eBay in 1999, and then that was all over for me is when I started going into wrestling cards.
I think eBay kind of ruined all of us, hasn't it? In that respect. But it's been good too. We find some good stuff.
Well, I think eBay changed the game. I mean,
Sure did.
like Rob's talking about, I mean, it took trading cards from a regional issue to a national. And, I think the other thing that eBay did is it made all of us that are collectors at least have the ability to sell our, like if you want to sell something on eBay and you have good reputation, you can actually get a fair price. Back in 1985, when you bought cards, if you got, something you liked or didn't like and wanted to trade with the dealer, they're giving you 50 cents if you're lucky on the dollar.
You're lucky.
If you're lucky.
A lot of places, I used to set up at a place called Frank and Son Collectibles Show in California.
Yeah.
And most guys there, if Beckett's $100, they're selling it for, 50, and they'll buy it off you for 20. It's always been, but yeah, eBay's been great. I mean, I've gotten some great deals off of there, and I built my reputation up on my Vela Cards brand for a long time. So when I had like 25,000 feedback, people understood that, I was reputable, and I would get top dollar for stuff. Like, how am I getting, this when everybody else is getting this? I'd literally buy things off of eBay and then resell it on eBay.
Yeah, and it's a total game changer because, I was collecting way back when, even as a kid in junior high, where you're going down a list to buy a card, a Willie Mays in very good condition and paying $5 and just shipping it to, to the dealer in the mail and getting your card back. But once eBay came and you saw the pictures, and then you were just exposed to so many things that you didn't even know existed.
That's how my collection grew. I mean, I found so many international cards that I didn't even know about it. At one point in time when we started WTC, we thought, oh, we got everything. We got it all. It's all done. Then, of course, I stumble across your guys' website, the Vintage Archives. And I go, holy shit, we don't have anywhere near what we thought we had. And then have to track things down. And then eBay really helped out with that. And at the time I was using Yahoo auctions too.
Well, hey, let me make a clarification. That's not our website. That's that guy Steve's.
Well, I supplied a lot of the content to Steve, but Steve Timke really is the creator of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not even quite sure, but he might have started that off me sending a Word doc to him.
It looks like a Word doc. And to be quite honest with you, when I was looking for information about wrestling cards, about my own collection, there was nothing else on the internet other than Vintage Archives. And I thought, wow, this is so hard for me to read because it looks like someone took a Word document and just listed everything in order like that. But it'd be nice to have a checklist page for everything, and that's why I started WTC, for that purpose alone. And then we started tackling more of the modern stuff because you helped him, I think, Rob, a lot with all the vintage stuff, a lot of the older stuff sets. And
Yes.
that's what it was really all about. And when I started WTC, it was right around when, I think Fleer was really into the game at that time. So I had a good relationship with Fleer, and they give me all the information I needed. And I go, okay. And then I think Steve just goes, okay, well, you go ahead and take care of the modern stuff. I'll just keep the running stuff going here.
Yeah, they definitely complemented each other.
Mm-hmm.
For a nice comprehensive checklist for wrestling cards. And when I say Word doc, that came off a word processor, not even a computer.
Wow. So there's people already talking about how people wish they would fire, people at Topps would fire those who make WWE cards right now. So we're talking about 85 Topps like that. When did you guys first make your first sets? I mean, when did you just buy packs and then build your set? Did you buy a set? Did you build a whole set by just buying packs? How did you guys complete your sets?
I'll start. Hey, so years ago, I bought sets on eBay, right? Nothing major, but with probably about 3 years ago, I was really fortunate to sort of pivot to this set because, it's clear that I'm really into the Wrestling All-Stars, and I get it that some people like the 82 Hogan, some people like the 85. I'm more into like trying to own them all.
Yeah.
And so what had happened is that a lot of people had for years kind of just put the 85 top set to the side and didn't really spend a lot of time on it. And I was very fortunate because I bought a PSA 10 Hogan, and then I bought a rack box and busted that and had some good results. And so, I think that a lot of people don't understand, just like the 85 Topps baseball, when let's say you take a look at a Roger Clemens or a Dwight Gooden, where a lot of them are very heavily off-centered, that 85 Topps wrestling is very, very tough. And so, I've built some sets, not taking the graded card concept to the same level. I mean, I have the Hogans and some stickers and, some of the cards, but I'll tell you what, if you look at the 66 card set, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of some of the action shots. I'm more into base cards,
Sure.
Just in reality. But boy, I'll tell you what, so many of them are 90-10 centering. So it's pretty fascinating. And in recent years, you've seen a huge climb in graded card prices because people are quickly figuring out how tough this set is.
Yeah. Because Topps was notorious for their printing back then anyways of how bad it was. I mean, it was just really bad. So it doesn't surprise me that their wrestling would be the same. I mean, also the 80s, even in the early 90s, it was still pretty bad. How about you, Rob? Collecting at 85.
So I just ended up getting a raw set, and I would say totally, from my perspective, I'm pretty eclectic, and I like the rare stuff, the vintage cards. And when I looked at the 85, I would say, you know what, that's plentiful. I could go pick it up anytime that I want. It's not that expensive. But man, I was dead wrong because now to go back and get some of that high grade stuff, it's going to cost money. And even I would say up until about 6 months ago, you could jump into the game and, and get the cards. And I'm with Dave. I really like the base cards. Those first 22 cards are
they're pretty nice.
The ones to get, in my opinion, in addition to the stickers. The 23 through 66, they really don't hold much interest with me.
Yeah, cards 1 through 21 are the regular cards, and then
okay, 1 through 21 then.
Yeah, 22 through 66 or 56 are called ringside action, and then you have the Superstar Speaks from 57 through 66.
Yeah, so those base cards, those early cards in that set are definitely the ones to get.
Oh, they're awesome. I mean, there's some great shots in there like that. I mean, you start off strong with that Hogan card. Looks beautiful.
But I always wonder, where was Andre the Giant?
Isn't that crazy? It's not only in the sticker set, right?
Well, he's in the stickers, and he's in some of the action where, you know, Giants in action and pile up and
Yeah, he's
ready
not.
to fly.
He doesn't even have a featured card in those first 21 cards, man. That's crazy.
That's a huge miss by Topps.
Yeah, and I, you know what? I didn't really notice that until I think you posted something about that. I think you mentioned that, so yeah, and I just go, yeah, I didn't even notice that till now.
Yeah, if it's Andre, I want to get it, and so noticing that he doesn't have a base card, you know, is really obvious.
So a lot of guys get that. They get that number 21 sticker graded a lot too. That's Andre's card is the number 21 sticker.
You know, the thing about the set, like if you look back to 1985, I mean, Andre was still playing a pivotal role in WWF. So it's kind of like bizarre that he's not featured in a base card. I mean, and the thing is, like, you know, if you think about how, like, let's say they had put out 3 sets in a row and, okay, we want to share the spotlight with other people in theory. Okay, maybe. But, you know, like Chief J Strongbow, just for example, was, you know, he played a big role in WWF, but to think that you put him in there over Andre, I mean, there's a bunch of them where you just sort of question, like, how did that person get their own card? And then you pivot to the sticker set, and obviously Andre's in there, and, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
It's almost like someone went, oh shit, we forgot about Andre. Let's put him in the stickers.
How do you miss Andre the Giant?
Exactly. How do you miss that guy? So the original product came out. It was 36 packs per box, 9 cards per pack, plus 1 sticker per pack. And of course, you know, and then you had also rack packs. Did you guys buy stuff from actual hobby boxes? Did you get stuff from rack packs? I mean, did you buy from both? David?
Well, I can probably speak to this a little better than Rob because as a kid, I bought some, you know, hobby packs or wax packs, right? And not a lot. I mean, I'm guessing less than 10. Like, because I don't want to overplay that I'm from modest means, but I'm just telling you, 1985, when I was 6 years old, you know, spending a lot of money on wrestling cards versus the baseball was just not in the cards.
Yeah.
But no, so I opened an entire rack box, and I tell you something. You know, I think a lot of people, they look at people that grade cards and then they go, oh, they're just in it for the money. And, you know, listen, I mean, anybody that's consistently buying cards or trying to grade cards, I mean, generally speaking, is hoping to have a positive economic you know,
it's a stock. You're basically buying a stock.
Yeah, that's just the way I view it.
Whether you want to sit on it and watch it mature or you want to flip it quickly, it's still a stock.
It's something that has value, right?
Correct.
But I will say this: when I opened the rack box, it was one of the most fun things that I've done in recent memory because, one, it was, and I you know, the coalition of Hogan's, I can't begin to speculate what it normally is. I have opened, for example, like the 86 Monty, which has the worst coalition of anything I've ever touched, where I literally got 23 and 22 of the same pack out of 50. I mean, it was insane. Like, I finally got so pissed, I almost wanted to stop opening them. But no, I got 13 Hogan number 1s out of a rack box.
That's awesome.
And I tell you what.
Well, now you look at it now, it's awesome. But you know, back then you go like, hey, this coalition is shit, because that's another trademark of Topps back in the day too. In addition to having uncut, you know, uncentered images, but their coalition was horrible.
Well, this was only like maybe 2.5, 3 years ago, so I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because I got a shit ton of the Hogan 1 and Roddy Piper. Those are the 2 cards I was looking for. For whatever reason, I didn't get very many of the Hogan number 16, the blue one. But I got real fortunate that I had pretty solid centering. And I'll tell you something, though. I think a lot of people don't realize, like the stickers, for example, they are so tough and high grade, even out of the rack packs, because they're in different cells, which is cool. But you have print dots all over them. You've got centering issues.
Then you're
and
gonna have
so-
packaging issues too when they put them in those actual whack packs like that. They end up getting damaged a lot of times.
Correct. That's exactly right. And then you also have sometimes, and I don't know the right technical term, where it bleeds through the back, where you can see all the lines from the sticker.
Yep.
You don't send those in for grading because I mean it's got like this highlighted issue on the back. So I mean you're basically toast. So I just think that if I had to say to anybody that wants to get nice cards, I would say rack packs are your best bet. That's kind of generally speaking across the board because you don't have gum issues and you don't have wax stains. But it's a crapshoot. You know, I was telling Rob before we got on this call, you know, I busted that rack box. I was super thrilled with the results. Probably 6-8 months ago, I bought 7 racks, and legitimately I had one card out of all 7 racks that I could get graded. I have that at PSA now. I mean, it's not a monster card. It's the Jimmy Snuka off Andre's shoulders, ready to fly. And, you know, hopefully it does okay. But I mean, the thing about these is the reason that the graded stuff just keeps going up is because even though, as Rob touched on earlier, and this was my belief system too, that the cards are easy to find, they're not easy to find in high grade.
Nope, you're right. Touching back on the Hogan 1 and number 16, someone had asked about what was the story behind the 2 Hogan cards for 1 and 16, the yellow background versus the blue background. You heard that once that the blue background was rarer. Do you guys know anything about that?
I don't believe that's the case. I could be wrong. I don't have any inside information to make that, you know, fact, but they seem relatively the same to me. I don't know what Dave thinks about that.
Well, my comment would just be that in the box I opened, the yellow was more plentiful, but I just don't know that, like Rob said, I don't have any real data to go on to sort of say like that's factual.
Well, I mean, you've opened enough product. Have you come across that yourself that, hey, I'm pulling a lot less number 16s than I am 1s?
I only opened the 1 rack box.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, the thing is, and, you know, this is what's interesting about the 85 Topps is there's been this huge movement in just sort of trading cards in general to keep stuff sealed, right? So Rob and I are very vocal on message boards and so forth, and, you know, and trying to advance wrestling cards. Well, they're in the sort of overall trading card game. A lot of people, as I said, keep stuff sealed. And so what's happened, this 85 Topps, oh my goodness, you get and the XL boxes that you referenced earlier are probably worth a little less, but boy, you find a baseball card exchange wrap box, they're going for like $1,500 all of a sudden, okay? Now, I can tell you this right now, I remember when they were $125, and I thought, maybe I'll just kind of hold off. Then they were $300. I thought that's too expensive. Well, now they're $1,500. So that's the other issue.
I really screwed up too because, you know, I joined eBay, and if there's wrestling cards, 85 Topps was always there. And, you know, I'm going back and buying all my vintage stuff and even seeing the Wrestling All-Stars and saying, oh, those are cool. Like, I could jump into this 85 game anytime I want, you know, and putting it off. And then now, as Dave was saying, it was 100, 300. It keeps climbing. And
20 years later, you're like, damn it, I fucked up.
Yeah. When do I get into this game? And to be honest, and knowing that there's 2/3 of the set that I really don't have a passion for.
Sure.
But knowing that I really want those base cards. So one of my projects that I'm doing right now is I want each of the base cards signed. And I thought that would be something that's a little different because, you know, someone could go in there and just scoop up a whole set. But how many people could have a Moondog Spot and a JYD and a Big John Stud and have those signed?
Those got to be super rare. Super rare.
They're out there though, because 85 Topps at one time was plentiful and they were signed.
Because you're right, they were everywhere, and I still think they're kind of easy to find. They're just expensive now.
Right. And so I've kind of held off. And some of the things that I've been doing, though, is trying to get really high grade autographs. So not just get, you know, a card that's been beat up and then signed and, you know, go and slab that with PSA. But, you know, for example, I had shared with Dave a few months ago, I picked up this Iron Sheik that's 50-50 centering side to side, top to bottom. It's beautiful. He signed it. That was from American Icons. It's gonna,
I've worked with Sean Jacoby very much.
yes, and I think what he had done was he busted that wax himself, got that signed. You know it's legit.
A lot of cards that American Icon got, Sean bought them for me. A lot of singles.
Well, I might have your Iron Sheik signed. So.
I doubt that. No, I would never give him that kind of stuff. Like he'd buy more of the stuff because he would do a lot of private signings, like the Leaf stuff that's come out over the years. You know, I sit with Barry and Bill Demolition. We'd sign all those stuff. I sat with Chris Jericho. We signed all those. Yeah.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We got Iron Sheik.
What's up, Jabroni?
What's up, guys?
Look at you guys all pulling out your cards here. So, so we kind of know that, you know, the later set, the cards 22 and up, guys really don't care about. I think most people kind of think about that.
I do like those Andres, though.
Sure.
Since he didn't have a base card, I jump on those Andre action shots. That's
what would you guys say is your favorite card then in the set? You know, personally, not just from value, but personally from that your favorite card from the set, David.
I know what he's saying.
You know, I mean, it has to be Hogan #1 because, honestly, what got me to get into wrestling cards other than Brock Lesnar was Hogan #1 because when I started in 2009 searching for Brock Lesnar cards, I said, doesn't Hulk Hogan, you know, he had a card when I was a kid. And that's how I found the Wrestling All-Stars. But I also think, you know, like people today can sort of diminish how big Hulk was. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to sort of pretend that Hulk wasn't the biggest star. But as a 6-year-old in first grade, I had Hulk Hogan folders. I had Hulk Hogan, the LJN figures. I had the a book. What do they call it? A bookmarker.
You had Hulk Hogan underoos and.
You know what? I probably did more. I mean, I don't know, but I'm telling you, like people, you know, he was a superhero. So
it's the Babe Ruth of wrestling.
He really is, and so that I think that. The 85 Topps Hogan, what's really special about that card is, you know, it symbolizes basically when wrestling changed. You know, everybody can say that they like this better, they like that better, but whether anybody likes it or not, Vince McMahon in 1985 changed the world. And so WrestleMania was the deal. And, you know, you watch the videos of him and Mean Gene Okerlund and him and Mr. T. And, you know, I didn't get to see that stuff when I was a kid because we didn't have cable. You know, we didn't have MSG network, you know, but it was big. And, I mean, he is legitimately, you know, if it wasn't for 1985 Hulk Hogan, I don't personally believe wrestling would be where it's at today. So I like that card the best.
What about you, Rob?
So I think one of the reasons why I put off the set for so long is that many of these base cards were really found in the Wrestling All-Stars. So that kind of held me back from really pursuing them really hard. But if I had to pick one, and why it captivated my attention was the Roddy Piper, because that was his first appearance.
That's my favorite card in the set.
So there's no, you know, denying that. And, you know, the baseball card, you know, collector as a kid and just that collecting gene is, and I know that you're going to have this on a future show, is about rookie cards. Mm-hmm. But it was to get the rookie card of Roddy Piper, his first appearance on a card, no matter how you slice it. If you want that, the card for Roddy, that's the one to have.
Yeah, it's my favorite card. I was a big Roddy fan, so. I come across him, many times at shows over the years like that, and have conversation with him. I always tell him it's still my favorite card. It's still my favorite card guy. But
Mhm.
Well, I'll tell you, hey, listen, so when I opened that rack box, I had bought a Hogan #1 PSA 10 a few months earlier. So quite frankly, I was gunning for a Roddy PSA 10 more than Hogan. And I did get lucky. I got 2 Roddies and a Hogan #1 10 out of that box. But it's a great shot. And I think a lot of people today, we've got a very soft culture. If you get online and you listen to wrestling fans, they would not be able to take Roddy Piper from the 80s. And
no,
so I
they
think it's a
actually wouldn't.
magic. It's magical because it just adds to why people like the nostalgia. I mean, Roddy Piper was not only brutal in the ring. I mean, this isn't a WWF event, but if you go back to '83 Starrcade, that was NWA Jim Crockett Promotions, his dog collar match with Greg Valentine may be one of the most brutal matches
That was a brutal match
of all time. He would not have been able to put asses in seats for WrestleMania had he not, people, like, I get it, like a lot of people changed promotions, but everybody knew that Roddy Piper was Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful card. Love that card.
Yeah, one of my buddies actually purchased Roddy Piper's boots, and that's part of his collection. So Anthony
Wow.
in Texas. Yes,
That's a pretty cool grab.
it's amazing.
That's a really good
That's
grab.
wild.
I have a few things like that I've gotten over the years, but nothing from legendary people like that. I've got like the very first pair of pants that Sabu wore at the very first ECW pay-per-view. I used to have a lot of RVD stuff that I would sell for him. I've got some Singapore canes and stuff like that. Nothing from vintage stuff. It's more modern stuff from a lot of guys I worked with over the years. But
Yeah, and apparently those were the boots that Roddy Piper wore for his entire career.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Which is, fascinating.
That's pretty amazing like that. Let's see what else we got in here that sets like that. So we got more information about this set here is sales sheets. You guys ever click the sales sheets from it?
I have not. I've seen them online. I think it's a neat deal. Many, many years ago, like a few people sold them for, pretty high prices, but I think it sort of became clear they're a little more plentiful. They also, I believe, featured the Garbage Pail Kids, correct?
On certain ones, they basically they made a one-sided and a two-sided sales sheet for promotional purpose. Obviously, the one-sided horizontal sheets, they're full sheets, 8.5 by 11, and then you have the two-sided horizontal sheets, advertisements. I'm just reading off the information we have there. That actually did feature the Garbage Pail Kids on it as well. I've got both of those, and that's why I kind of recently posted that horizontal one that featured Garbage Pail Kids on it as well. That's also attracted to me because I used to collect those 2 Garbage Pail Kids. That was so fun for me.
Yeah, I didn't collect the sales sheet at all. One thing that I have collected is basically the parallel set of the 1986 Scanlens,
Mm-hmm.
the Australian version,
Yeah.
1 year later, just because it's so tough and I like a challenge and it gives me something to shoot for. And
I actually forgot about that. I forgot about that set. I got that in a binder somewhere too.
Is it high grade?
I don't know. That's what I'm interested in looking at. I'm interested in looking at all my cards to find out. At the time, I wasn't really concerned about, the grading, obviously, at all. I just wanted to complete it because some of those cards, as were really hard to come by to try to piece together. I'd find on eBay someone have a lot of like 10 cards. Like, well, I need 7 of them, so I'll take it, and I'll just go ahead and maybe I can trade off my other 3. So I had to piece my stuff together like that way. Every once in a while, I get lucky and you find someone have a full set and I can buy it that way. It's kind of how I got that wacky wrestling set that came out. I got it. Someone had a whole set, so I bought the whole thing. Trying to look at what else we have here, so like that as far as the sell sheet. But then they had also the one-sided vertical sell sheets. Actually, we can look at these here. I can.
I tell you what, Rob, like you just you were telling me you just recently got a pack of Scanlens. I don't know that I've ever even seen one of those on eBay. I mean, that's super rare.
Yeah, I went and looked on the PSA pop reports, and they haven't graded a Scanlens, and I don't know if it's just because collectors haven't given them the information, or sometimes PSA is a little bit slow to recognize variations. So one of my goals is to get some of, especially the base cards graded, because I think a Hulk Hogan Scanlen high grade, I think that would be a big time card. That number 1 in a Scanlens in a PSA holder, that's a monster card, and it doesn't
Well, no
exist.
doubt. And the thing is, I don't know, like if you think about the like market scene cards and what we've learned about the Kiwis, from New Zealand, it's my understanding that the Scanlens have the same condition woes. And then you think about just finding sort of pack fresh copies. That's a monster. It has to be.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I bought an unopened pack, and I don't know, but it seems like there's no more than 5 cards in that pack. That Scanlens.
Let me see if I could tell. I don't. It's in the closets like that. I actually have a pack. No, not Scanlens though. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Market Scene Limited. I'm thinking about those ones.
Market scene's only 3, and then you've got one of them you lose to gum.
Yeah, one you lose to gum, absolutely. So I have one from each series, unopened pack from each series of those.
Those are such a, like, I bought a box, and it's you legitimately shed a third of the box to
Correct.
gum.
Yep.
And then on top of that, then you've got issues with, corners, like the back card may be damaged. I mean, it's I really like those cards, but it's a risky rip.
It is.
And it's the same thing with the Scanlens, because it's so thin, the cards really don't brick to, save the ones that are in the middle. And so even with unopened packs, it's a big gamble to get a high grade one.
Let me see if I can find, we'll go back to sell sheets here. I got, show you some examples of sell sheets.
But really,
I'm curious, Rob, you could probably speak to this maybe better than I, but is the Scanlen set exactly the same?
1 through 66 it is, but it does not have any stickers.
No stickers. So that's actually interesting, because that tells you that you've got either 1, they put less cards in the pack is what it sounds like, or 2, you got at least more base cards, you got a little better shot. Sounds like it's the first.
But it's interesting, though, is when you look at this 85 Topps, you have O-Pee-Chee in Canada, and then Scanlens the following year in 1986.
Yeah, it's a 66 card set. Yep. Made exclusively for New Zealand, Australia market. No stickers with the release. That's,
and the base is a little bit different. Instead of a brown back, it has a more of a whitish back.
Yes, kind of similar to the O-Pee-Chee one, I think, right?
Yeah, so this one's actually a Scanlens. So my Iron Cheek.
Yeah.
So
hey, Rob,
this card doesn't look like that.
Rob, does it have a 1986 copyright date on there, or 85?
It does. And I wonder if PSA didn't want to grade them, because when you look at the action shots, I mean, one of the things that would be the obvious giveaway would be the backs, the white versus the brown. But if you weren't in tune with that, you'd have to look at the copyright date of 1986 versus 1985.
Is it like, because I kind of feel like the O-Pee-Chee Series 1 has a little different gloss to it. It's not, I don't believe it has quite the same matte finish that the Topps do. Do the Scanlens have any kind of different finish?
I think it does a little bit. It seems to me like a little bit more of a sheen.
Yeah, that's because the thing about the O-Pee-Chee Series 1, obviously it's the same as the Topps set. And I tell you what's interesting, I didn't even know that they had stickers, and quite frankly, I don't even know how you tell the difference.
There's no difference in the stickers, except for the fact that card number 21, which is Andre, is listed in French.
Yeah, but I mean, so the back is in French?
No, the back's not in French. The back still also contains an image, but the only way to tell a difference really on the stickers for that is that card number 21 really.
So what, in terms of what? Like, how would I tell?
Card number 21 has Andre's name written in French on the front instead of just
On the front.
It doesn't say Andre the Giant. It actually says, here, I'll show you here in a second here.
You
Oh,
got
wow.
it open.
So, okay, now that's pretty cool though. See, you learn something new every day. I mean, that's going to be, people listening at home are going to basically be searching for that.
Well,
Or-
I don't have an image of the card itself, but I don't have an image of the card itself, but I'm going to share this with you here.
the Andre sticker, if it's in French, it's a different one. That's
what
cool.
this is what it'll say. And that's the card. Everything else is the same.
So, but is there any like copyright dates? I mean, like, how do you even know?
It's all 85. It's all 85. I think the stickers are exactly the same. So I'd have to actually look at my personal collection against in storage, but I have this. And I like to get an image of it because I'm supposed to give this stuff to David so he can put up on the site.
Because this is something that I think is going to be, I personally believe that the O-Pee-Chee Series 1, I mean, it is drastically harder to find than the Topps. So over time, collectors are probably going to pivot and apply higher values to some of those cards. And the stickers in particular, I didn't, for the longest time, I didn't even know they existed. I've seen sellers from Canada sell them, so I know they exist, but I don't even know how you tell the difference.
I don't know either. That'd be a great way to find that out because those other 21 cards are identical to the Topps release. Other than that card number 21, I have the card. I know because it's in French on the front.
Hey Rob, you got to track one of those down, buddy.
Oh, it'll be found.
It'll be found.
Yeah. You're already planning.
My brain's just working. Like, how could I convince PSA to recognize 1 out of 20-something cards as O-Pee-Chee and say, oh, the others, we can't do it, but for Andre, we'll do it.
Can't do it because I'm focusing. I got my phone here, but for some reason, I feel like maybe they've graded an O-Pee-Chee sticker. Maybe I'm wrong, but that one would be huge. I mean, if you think about Andre, you, Greg Knapp, I mean, there's Barry Topple, you got some real serious collectors out there that like Andre for obvious reasons. And that could be a really fascinating card because if you look at the 85 Topps Andre, it's super condition sensitive, like the stickers. I mean, they just are. It'd be pretty cool to have one in French.
It would actually, yes. I would. I'm not sure how you can figure it out. I'm not sure how we can figure out what set it came from. Those other 21 cards. I don't believe there's anything on it because the back also contains a puzzle. I think too, the same puzzle.
Well, after I get off this call, I'm going to go on eBay and look at every one and see.
Rob's going hunting. Well, I'll tell you what's interesting is that the O-Pee-Chee Series 1 wax boxes are like impossible to find. And so there's a guy named Tom at O-Pee-Chee Baseball, and he sort of specializes in O-Pee-Chee products and other products, but he found one and he sold one recently for $1,900.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, I when he first priced it out, we're friends on Instagram, and I said 1,900. Oh, okay. And this is before the Topps had really skyrocketed, so I kind of felt like, all right, I get the scarcity value, but that seemed like he was stretching, and it sold. So the challenge really is that there's no rack packs of the O-Pee-Chee. It's only wax boxes. So very few people are going to rip a $1,900
oh yeah
85 O-Pee-Chee.
There
know?
are 3 Hogan sticker cards from O-Pee-Chee that are on PSA.
Right. There's the pop report. I could have sworn there was a few, right?
Yeah, there's 3 of them. Yeah, there's a total of 3.
I
Yeah. So
wonder
we
if
got to
they're
figure
condition
out
labeled,
like,
though, and someone just sent them in as O-Pee-Chee and then they just slabbed them, is what it's probably most likely is.
Actually, I take that back. A total of 6.
but I don't think Rob, like, honestly, like, I doubt anybody was going to fake that. I'm not suggesting you're saying that. So
No.
the reality is, I'm sure they're legit. We just need to
Right.
figure out like how on earth PSA can tell.
Yeah,
You know, 'cause-
I do know that PSA has used WTC many times in the past to authenticate cards like that, but that's a tough one because without an actual image that shows the difference between that and a regular Topps card, it's hard to tell. The only one that stands out clear is that Andre card because it's definitely done in French. His name is done in French in the front.
Well, I had for a long time was really hoping, I think a lot of people don't realize, I mean, I'm a gambler when it comes to some of this stuff. I like to rip. And, 1, it's fun. And 2, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But when you win, you can win big.
Yep.
But I can't in any capacity say I'm going to be ripping a $1,900
No.
box.
But
It's a
those
little too
Hogans are
risky.
going up in value, though, too. So
Yeah, I still can't see, almost $2,000 on a box and want to tear it open and go, oh, I got shit out of it.
Well, the thing is, like, so, like, I've ripped Wrestling All Stars pack, so has Rob, right? Well, you have at least a pretty good shot, like, there's a chance. When you start losing card after card to wax stains and card after card, let's say Topps to bubble gum and bad coalition, and maybe these things got handled poorly, it's just a riskier proposition, I mean, I'd at least rather, if I'm going to gamble, I'm hoping to like maybe have a shot to seriously win.
yeah, those inaction cards aren't going to be a home run.
No.
You'll be lucky, if you win, but those aren't the home runs.
No.
Just a few of the base cards.
Anything else about this set that stands out for you guys as far as like card image that you like or anything else like that? Because the other thing about this set is that there are uncut sheets that exist. You guys ever collect uncut sheets or no?
I don't collect uncut sheets just due to space. I just like how I could store single trading cards or graded cards, so no uncut sheets for me.
I mean, I have none myself. I mean, I have some uncut sheets from various products, but not from this release.
I've got, not trying to turn this into a Rob love fest, but, Rob and I have been,
you can do that, Dave. Okay.
We've worked together over the years in terms of just being like pals. And so there's been a few moments where he hooked me up with a situation. And so I have uncut sheets from the Wrestling All-Stars, thanks to Rob. And I do appreciate that. I'd say that the difference is those are 36 card sheets, whereas you get into 66 card. So for display purposes and just overall storage, it gets tougher. I think at the core, though, this set is, it really is super important because nobody, for the most part, even knew the Wrestling All-Stars existed for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And, 85 Topps Wrestling is the first pack issued set of wrestling cards ever. And, then you have the distribution of Topps. The set's dominated by Hulk Hogan, which, look, I get it that some people don't like Hulk, but in 1985, I mean, Hulk was everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a really classic set. And, for me, I'm excited that wrestling cards have sort of morphed into where a set like this can become highly collectible. I mean, if you look at the prices of the Hogan cards, I mean, a PSA 8 #1 Hogan I've seen sales like as of a day ago that were like $165 for an 8. You know, I get it that that's not all the money in the world, but I mean, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, that was like $6, $8, $10.
If
And
that.
Dave probably wasn't submitting an 8 a year ago.
I was not. I've got some 8s. I've got some 8s at PSA right now. So when I ripped that rack box, I had a stiff level of a 9 or higher. And every single card I submitted got a 9 or higher because I made sure that there was no borderline 9s. I've got a bunch of the, and I say a bunch, I don't know, 3 or 4, but of those at PSA now that, you know, I didn't really think were, you know, grade worthy. So what's really exciting is that the card hobby's so hot right now, and, you know, it's expanded so much that if a Hogan 8 from 85 Topps is, you know, 150, 170 bucks, that's pretty cool. That's good for all of us.
Yep.
Yeah, even a 9 OC went for good money, you know, and before we would never even dream of submitting a OC card from 85 Topps, just knowing how plentiful they used to be. But I think, you know, with this issue, when you attach Topps to a trading card, it legitimizes wrestling cards.
It does.
You know, Topps is the brand. You know, it's been around forever, and, you know, for all intent and purposes, it was the first issue of Topps. You know, technically, you could go back to 1948, the Topps Magic Photos, but those really don't meet the, you know, the true definition of a trading card. They're, you know, postage.
Oh, that's a whole different topic right there alone. I can't wait to have that.
But, you know, you have to either spit on them or get them wet for the photo to develop, and that's the #1 registry, so I don't want to downplay them. I mean, I'm all in on those. They're vintage wrestling, and, you know, they're Topps. They're 1948, but, you know, to be real, and, you know, 1985 with Topps, and, you know, for Topps to have, you know, subsequent releases in 87 and keep the, you know, wrestling cards going, and having others join the fray with Classic and Merlin. And
well, how do you guys feel about it? I mean, 85 Topps now is kind of, it's like you said, it's been blowing up now, especially the last 6 months plus, really becoming a really highly desirable collectible. Is that going to affect 87? Would that ever become a
rollover? There just has to be. And I think part of the reason why 85 Topps is so hot is if someone wants to get a Hulk Hogan, and in the past it would be, oh, let's go get the 1982 Wrestling All-Stars. But now they're getting priced out of the 82 All-Stars. So
thanks,
okay,
David.
what's the next best thing? Like, you know, I'm not going to play in the deep end of the pool. I'll go into the mid-sized pool, and I'm going to go to 85. And I'm going to get that card #1, card number 16.
Does 87 become like the you know, the steps to get into the pool?
Probably.
Yeah.
You know, that's a nice shot of Hulk on that 87 Topps card. So,
well, you know,
that card in high, people are going to go after it.
87 Topps also is around WrestleMania 3. So, you know, people have got to keep in mind, WrestleMania 3 is one of the biggest sports attractions of all time in the United States. I think the other thing is, and Rob will agree with this, is that, you know, the 87 Topps has the Bret Hart quote unquote rookie card, and he has a base card and a sticker card. And, you know, I think that a lot of us were very bullish on wrestling cards. Like, you know, we really thought the market was going to be strong, right? But boy, you get like, and we've talked about Gary Vaynerchuk. You know, when he starts putting a Bret Hart rookie on his Twitter account, people start saying, well, that's a really awesome card.
And if Gary says it is, I got to have it too.
Well, not just that, but, you know, like, take a Bret Hart rookie. I mean, I'm not a particular huge Bret Hart fan. I really feel like, you know, he thinks he's better than he is, and I think he's become a sort of an asshole as he's gotten older, and that's whatever.
That's
But
another whole different topic I can talk to you
that's a
guys
whole other
about.
topic. But think about that for a second. I mean, you have a guy that was a big wrestling star, and I can tell you from personal experience, those cards are very, very tough because they have centering issues top to bottom. You've
Those
got
blue
a lot of
quarters.
corner issues.
That's
You've got a lot
Topps
of,
for you.
well, but you've got a lot of print issues where there's lots of white specks all over the cards. So you're not going to see a lot of high grade examples. And so I think what's happened is that collectors like cards in slabs. I mean, Rob and I probably really of everybody were the sort of pioneers of graded wrestling cards. And, there was other people buying them, but him and I were very much into trying to create a market and grading cards. I mean, more so than myself, Rob is clearly the guy that's gotten more cards graded than anybody. One, in totality, and two, just trying to get new stuff graded. And so that said, there's just not a ton of supply. And there's not going to be a ton of supply. I mean, I ripped years ago a bunch of 87 Topps boxes, and these things were $20 a piece shipped. Now they're like $150 a piece. So obviously, people are not going to rip them. You lost 2 cards a pack to gum and wax.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, you had so many cards that looked like total shit out of the pack, right? And I kind of sort of have to laugh because I probably threw away stuff I could have sold. But I literally threw away like 2,000 top singles with gum stains and stuff. I should have created sets, but I threw them away because I just didn't see, anything was 90-10 or huge amount of print. And so I'm telling you, you're not going to see a lot of high grade 87 Topps. And so take the Hogan, obviously, the Andre, obviously, and then the Bret Hart. And so I think all this stuff is sort of benefiting from the fact that, people like to collect. And as Rob indicated, I think it's very true. As the more marquee cards go up in value, the close substitutes are what other collectors can sort of get their hands on, and it drives the value. I mean, I can't honestly tell you that I thought an Andre PSA 5 from 82 All-Stars would be a $600 card.
Wow.
But we're seeing that. We saw one the other day sell for 800 and something. So,
And I think what the game changer has been for
different.
wrestling is that a lot of wrestling collectors in the past would just be completists. So they would just have their 85 top set and they'd be done. Nothing graded. But for example, with Dave and I, we're going to go back to that well 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, because there's always like a 9 or a 10 to chase. And so when you have these hardcore collectors that continuously go after this product, that product that once seemed plentiful isn't so plentiful anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now all this unopened product is shooting up in price. And, more people are joining. And so what seemed to be really plentiful isn't so much today. Because if it's cheap and it's on eBay, Dave and I are, and sometimes we'll just have a whim. We might be bored. We'll just say, hey, we want to rip something. We want to have some. This is a decent price. We'll go at it, because there's certain cards to chase.
I miss my eBay days.
1987 Bret Hart O-Pee-Chee rookie goes for $2,300, and there's a nice wax box out there. We'll jump on it.
Yeah.
Well, and to take it a step further, the market's changed where, people used to make fun of all of us that collected wrestling cards. It was dorky. It was garbage.
Didn't really talk about it.
All right, well, guess what? The joke's on you. Now, all of a sudden, like as Rob just said, we saw an O-Pee-Chee PSA 10 that's pop one. I get it. Bret Hart go for $2,300. Now, you know, listen, I mean, I get it. And if you compare that to baseball cards, I mean, you've got Mickey Mantle's into the deep in the
Yeah,
millions.
sure.
But that was a $20 card. So, I mean, you're talking about a price escalation in the last 10 years that is radical. And I think that, you know, each situation is different, but I'm telling you, the graded stuff is not going to go away. And what everybody's finding, you know, like you start looking at the pop reports and say, wait a second, this shit's tougher than I realized.
Yeah, well, you got me interested when we had our conversation. I took about a week before I finally got into it. I looked at it and I'm trying to familiarize myself. I'd never been there before. So I'm going on, looking at it, I'm going, holy shit. There is like, this is like a stock market. Like I know now this is a great report for me knowing what to buy. You know, if I find a good deal, what to jump on it. Cause I'm actively looking now because of my conversation with you.
And to be honest, I got into eBay in 1999 and it was 2007. And at that point, I had pretty much collected everything that I wanted to collect. And it made it more interesting again because there was always something to chase. You know,
I was like you, Robert. I was a completist. And so when Fleer got a hold of it, I did those first few releases. I got everything. So even when you talk about like the Hurricane Mask card and the Farouk knee brace that are really limited, I have all those because I actively look for stuff. But then I just fell off because it became too much for me. So now I just pretty much stopped collecting in '07 myself. And I'm thinking now, after having my conversation with David, and then I had my conversation with that guy for Brian, who did the PWG cards, like I'm feeling like I want to go back out and start collecting again now. And even though I have certain things, like I want to go out and look for more 85 tops, 87 tops. I want to look for me. I'm actively looking for 2002 Fleer Royal Rumbles right now. That's a great release because it's a great rookie year, man.
That's a great set.
on those Royal Rumbles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, listen, I got a bunch of those at PSA right now. And I tell you something, I think people don't understand how tough those are because
not only are they tough to find right now, they're tough to get graded, I think, because the cutting on those cards, because the embossing on them was so difficult. They're frayed edges. To find when it's not frayed is really hard.
Well, and on top of that, they stick together. Like I bought some sealed boxes. I mean, I bought a bunch. I've opened a bunch, but I got some from Singapore not too long ago. And anyway, they were all stuck together. And so you get bubbling on the surface, you know, but I think I
bought cases of that stuff in 2002 because I would break stuff and I became a seller. I would break stuff, finish my complete set for myself, and then sell off all my extras to help pay off my case. So I bought cases of all that stuff from all that Fleer stuff through everything, even their Divine Diva set, everything. And, you know, I'm kind of regretting not holding on to a lot of that stuff because I sold some to a guy in St. Louis who was buying 2,000 singles at a time from me to put in vending machines.
Well, we got to get you to get some of those like Hurricane Helms and the Farouk knee brace. Those need to get in a graded holder because I got to tell you something. I'm not, that's not my forte, but it's my understanding that some of those are limited to like 10 or 12.
Knee brace is like 16 pieces, 15 pieces. The Hurricane Mask card is like 12 pieces.
Okay. You got to get one of those in a holder because what you're going to find is that, first of all, for you, one, you'll enjoy it. But two, if you're wanting to sell this, there's going to be somebody out there. You know, what's happened is the card market. So, you know, a lot of people don't realize, you know, I mean, I follow this stuff. It's not just wrestling. I mean, I follow it super closely. And so I read an article today, and PSA a year ago was averaging 68,000 cards a week, okay? They're averaging 250,000 cards a week a year later. I mean, people have got to understand that, you know, listen, Rob and I obviously have been early in this scenario, and, you know, it's been, you know, good for us, right? But price aside, like, you know, it's hard to predict what price will do. But when you have almost four-fold increase in the number of cards per week, I mean, I did the math. It's like 13 million cards that PSA is going to grade this year. Like, that is a huge deal. So
That explains why one of my best friends got a job with PSA this year because they were hiring like mad in California.
they
And
have to be.
yeah, and so when he had his interview,
website, we're hiring.
yeah, well, he had his interview with them, and they hired him as a researcher. So he's like, well, I've never really done researching. I used to help a buddy with a site called ComClick that turned into WrestlingTradingCards.com. And he goes, the lady interviewed him and goes, WrestlingTradingCards.com. Oh, we use that site all the time for our grading purposes. So I was like,
I know you. We
There's
talked
plenty
about
of
this.
wrestling cards that need to be recognized yet.
yes,
There's no reason for them not to have graded a Scanlens card yet.
correct. Well, I mean, it needs to have images. We need to get images put up there. So it's a whole project that we're working on. So, but
Yeah, but I want you, like, your first submission. Here's what we need from you, for your sake. Get a Collectors Club Platinum membership, right? You get the 15 free submissions, and send in some of these cool, like, off the beaten path cards, because I'm
Think
telling
about
you,
doing it.
man, it's like they don't even need to grade high. Like, if there's only 12 or 16 copies, I mean, it becomes a scarcity issue.
I went through, like I said, I
board.
went through yesterday, my storage yesterday, and I'm just, I'm grabbing some things that I thought, because I have so much stuff all over the place, I just shoved it all in there. So I went and I grabbed a lot of the Merlin stuff. There's some cool WWF Merlin cards. I figured I'd get, some AJ Styles cards for something newer. I got some Brock Lesnar's from Royal Rumble I want to send in. Kurt Angle's first card is from No Mercy. Want to get that one done.
My first submission to PSA was in 2007. In that first submission, I submitted a 1982 Wrestling All-Stars Hulk Hogan that was a PSA 9.
I got a bunch of stunning Steve Austins I'm going to send in. I got a whole bunch of singles of those.
Hey, Rob, don't we believe that the guy that cracked your card out and got it signed was the $20,000 one, right?
That was my old card. And the bad story about that card was, at the time, the 82As were about $60 a set. So I bought a set for probably around $50, submitted it PSA, got a PSA 9. I put it up on eBay for $135 buy it now.
Oh.
That guy snapped it up. He cracked it out of the case, got it signed by Hulk, got it re-slabbed by PSA. It kept its 9 grade, and I remember his name. And I started communicating with him on eBay, and yeah, he ended up consigning that card, and then it went for 20 grand.
You're like,
and that was my big $135 sale at one time.
It's almost like, winning a lot of money at the craps table. It should at least tip the dealer. Come on, they should tip you.
Well, but what was really cool about that is, I mean, obviously Rob's had a lot of great fortune since, fortunately. If he had quit, it really sucked. But that was a real milestone for wrestling cards, because
Absolutely.
when you think about a $20,000 price tag for what we've all been doing, Rob and I have been pioneers on the grading side. I mean, we have referenced your site so many times to so many collectors, and we appreciate it immensely. And I've obviously told you that. But the proof is in the pudding. When all of a sudden the rest of the world sees a $20,000 sale, they say, "Oh my gosh, this wrestling stuff it ain't so bad."
Yeah,
so,
there's especially people who want to flip. I mean, it's like, hey, there's some value here.
And I wanted to think
it's good for everybody.
On the PSA site is how many graded cards that I've sold, and I've stayed, directly and always consistently in wrestling, and it's about 2,500 wrestling cards, and pretty much those are all, pre-2000 for the most part. So that's a lot of cards that were kind of feeding the market, getting people used to seeing wrestling cards and slabs. And so I'd like to think that I had something to do with where the market is today.
I think both you guys have a lot to do with what happened in the market today. It's like that. I mean, there's no question about that. Anytime somebody talks about grading wrestling cards, there's only two names that come up. It's your guys.
Well, Rob, you know, has been so instrumental because a lot of people don't understand the work that he's done to just get PSA to grade them. And so it's not like you just mail it in and voila, it's graded. So what Rob's done is he's used your website numerous times as the checklist. He's dealt with back and forth with PSA where first they won't grade it, then they'll grade it, you know? And so, and I think the other thing is that both of us were hell bent on making this shit legit because I got to tell you something, you know, it gets old when people used to, you know, routinely just constantly make fun of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you make fun of it all you want. Well, guess what? When the prices go up, there's really not much to make fun of.
Yeah.
And so our goal, and I know I'm speaking for Rob, but I mean, we've had this discussion before, was, you know what? It wasn't a cash grab. We just wanted this shit to be legit.
Yeah.
You know, where it was like, hey, you know what? Wrestling is a huge part of Americana, and the cards are very, very tough, you know, and let's just make it real.
Yeah. And
And I
you guys have
credit too, because on the message board, I know that I posted about wrestling and it was just crickets. You know, there was no comments, nothing. And so I did that, you know, a handful of times and it was the same response and I kind of gave up. And then Dave came along and made some posts and there's this one thread, literally he took a beating in it bad. Like mob was after him, he was made fun of. And
well, what was this thread about? What was it about?
So it was bad, but like he was always consistent about, you know, how cool this stuff is. I mean, if the Three Stooges are popular, why can't Hulk Hogan and Andre be popular? You know,
it's true.
Yeah.
Nah, it was Rob's right, but it was 82 All-Stars, and you know, I think the challenge is that one of the internet's a weird phenomenon, and people they love to throw stones from
everybody's 7 feet tall, 500 pounds online.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is I laugh now. I mean, you know, you can see in the camera I'm all skinny now because I'm waiting for shoulder surgery. But man, when I was 30, when this shit started, like I honestly was not the guy you really wanted to talk shit to. So I always found it so odd. I was like, what is wrong with these people? But nah, I mean, I just think that it was good because, you know, we laugh about it now, but all the negative attention actually was positive because, you know, you hear all those people say that all publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
And so basically it was like, hey, we're going to kick the shit out of this guy Dave online, you know, and he's going to take it and laugh and tell you you're stupid. But guess what? It stayed at the top. And so everybody was like looking at it, you know?
It was a legendary thread, and Dave took a literal beating.
Yeah.
Well, way to take one for the team, buddy.
Yeah. So everything that he's earned in the card world, you know, he's really earned just from that thread alone.
But it's, you know, it's really true though, because I remember going in the mid to late 90s, going to various card shows and then kind of, you know, walk up to a deal. Hey, do you have any wrestling cards? I want to talk down because I didn't want anybody to hear me talking about wrestling cards. Like, you know, who wants to have this, you know, 30-something-year-old, 40-something-year-old guy walking around asking for wrestling cards? I'm just happy that is where it's at now. I mean, because I don't give a shit anymore. But
well, I'll tell you, you know, it's such a fascinating deal because in 2010, the one sealed set I bought that was a home run was from this guy Jerome in Minnesota, and he legitimately buried the wrestling cards for 30 years because he was tired of people talking shit to him the card shows.
Yeah.
He'd have them out, and they literally was making fun of it. And he goes, fine, you know what? I was asking $10. The $10 ain't worth it. I'll put them on a shelf, you know? And so I think for me, you know, I get basically accused of being greedy and in it for the money and so on and whatever. But I'm telling you, one of the major drivers was, let's just make this stuff legit. You know, you guys can all act like your hockey cards, your baseball cards, or basketball are better. But let me tell you something. When you submit a card to PSA, they don't care what genre it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting graded based on the card.
Yeah, your money's just as good as a baseball fan's, you know, money.
And
Well,
what
it really is.
My cardboard is better than your cardboard. I mean, we're more alike than we are different. So
Correct.
Just let everyone be.
Now, I'm just happy to see where the market's at right now. It's seeing, and you know, David introducing me to the pop reports like that has greatly opened my eyes to like wanting to get back in the hobby again, wanting to collect. I don't give two shits about the new stuff, to be honest with you. I have, we have members on our site that are very helpful in giving us checklists for all the new stuff. They've been on top of that stuff for years now. Great. I'm more interested in going back after the old stuff that really got me into the hobby to begin with. 85 Topps, 87 Topps, whatever I can find. So yeah, I'm actively hunting now. So I got my wife interested in going with me. She wants to go hang out with and check the stuff out. And I'm really excited about collecting again, but for the first time in over 10 years at least, you know.
We'll go to the set registry and look up Wrestling Card King, and you can see all my
I already looked you up, buddy. I did my homework. I have a whole list of things I'm ready to talk to you about right here. I've got it all ready to go.
Well, other thing is if you, you know, like if you look at your website, you know, tremendous information. There's a lot of these sets that are never going to be sort of actively pursued, right? So if we take 2002 Fleer Royal Rumble, there's 4 or 5 cards in the set that basically stick out, right? Okay,
yeah.
fine.
Well, it's got a great rookie class of, you know, modern wrestlers in there. I mean, everybody from the Fleer stuff started going after autographs and relics and memorabilia like that, and Kiss cards. But there's some good key stuff in some of these earlier Fleer stuff that someday, 15, 20 years down the road, they're going to be their generation's Hulk Hogan cards, the Randy Ortons, the John Cenas, the Brock Lesnars, the, you know, Batista's
already there on some of those.
I mean, some of those are already there.
Yeah.
Well, but so the thing is, like, that is a set that I personally believe is one of the marquee modern sets. But like, if you know, I'm sitting here looking at Rob's. I don't know, like, if you're still there. I know you are, but it's just I see his image. You know, Rob went after these Parker sets. Oh shit, he's giving me the Bob Backlund, like he's gonna choke me look. But no, you take like what Rob's done with the Parker sets, for example. Okay, you know, those are arguably some of the most condition-sensitive trading cards that exist. Mm-hmm. You know, like legitimately, if you look at the pop report of the Parker sets, and I can't, you know, he could spout it off better than I, but one of the sets has like maybe a few cards that have graded mint. I mean, I don't believe either have any that have graded a 10. So when you think about that, you know, the beauty of wrestling cards is you have some of these sets that are modern where maybe somebody wants the autographs or the matte cards or whatever.
Sure.
But then you've got people that are sort of more advanced collectors that want to go after tough stuff. And you know, Rob's been chasing these Parker's cards from the minute I've known him. He said 20 years, so it's even longer than I've known him. But I mean, that gives you something to do. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't just give up. Like me and my Wrestling All-Stars chase. I mean, I haven't had an upgrade to my 82 A set in like 3 years, but doesn't stop me from trying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Someone
so
even agrees like that. Somebody named Carl says, yeah, those Parker's high grades are almost impossible, he says.
They're almost impossible.
Yeah.
So the 1954 set, I have 71 out of the 75 in the highest grade ever from PSA. And with the master set with the lucky premiums, and granted, these are 1954 cards, I have 129 out of 137 with the lucky premium box and the highest grade. So there's only Yeah, there's only a few out there that I don't have.
That's
So that's what
impressive.
makes it fun. Like I'm searching for those 8 cards.
Yes, that's kind of what that's impressive. That's really impressive.
Well, Rob, I don't know if you know this about Rob, but Rob's a legit wrestler. And when we were up in North Carolina last year, he had a chance to rumble with Bob Backlund, legit, and he held his own. So I kind of think of Rob as like he's a killer.
Yeah, like I said, I did my homework on Rob's like that. I'm aware of his background.
You don't
Although
want to mess with that guy.
back home, someone goes, "You're wrestling a 70-year-old man," and I was like, "Well, like he's in great shape."
Bob's in great shape. Little crazy sometimes, but he's in great shape.
Well,
I
it
think
was weird.
a little crazy to be,
Is the thing that is so funny about Backlund is, first of all, I've got all the respect in the world for the guy because he legitimately is a real wrestler.
Yes.
But he does all that crazy Bob Backlund stuff from the WWF, later in life, Mr. Backlund or whatever. But Rob was like, yeah, I don't know what happened, but for whatever reason, they decided to lock horns, and I mean, it was unbelievable because say what you want about Backlund as a 70-year-old guy, he would destroy most people, and Rob held his own. It was pretty cool.
I said, "Hey, he picked up Hulk Hogan with one arm."
Strong guy. It's kind of why I work with Kurt Angle. He's one of my clients I work with, and that's another guy. That's a legit badass guy right there. Like you do not want to mess with a guy like him.
Well, Rob, tell him about the Kurt Angle rookie.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's 3 Kurt Angle rookies. There's 2 1995 grapple cards that are extremely rare. And then there's the 1998 Culture House Heroes of Wrestling amateur. So, before the No Mercy cards, there's some other ones to chase.
I'd be interested.
But that Culture House, you dropped one for $1,000, so that's the card.
Yeah, I sold one of those Culture House for $1,000 for a PSA 8. And then I got 3 more.
I'm gonna write myself a note here. I'm gonna send him a text after this like that to find out if he's got any of those cards laying around.
Dude, hey, listen, in all seriousness, Rob, you just got some of those. Maybe you can help him get one signed.
I can totally get one signed for you, no problem.
Rob, you got to get one of those signed.
I do have one signed, but I'll get another one signed. I was actually in Atlanta in 1995 when Kurt won his world title. And I got his autograph back in 95.
From the treasure chest of the wrestling card king.
There you go, man.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll talk again offline. It's like that, but I have no problems like that. I've got to give him a buzz anyways for some stuff coming up in 2021. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to get that done for you. But I'm curious now. I want to see do you have any collectibles that you had from your career that you like to maybe?
You're going to try to see if he has some and buy them.
You know I am. You know I am. Absolutely.
Hey, those are worth $20 a piece. I need one.
Yeah, there you go. So just wipe my commission for the next gig we do together. It's like that, and I'll just take some cards from you.
Just stop the recording about 10 minutes back.
Yeah, just stop it. He'll never watch this. He's not on Facebook. So this is great. So this is a great conversation about 85 Topps. We kind of went off in other areas like that, but it's a great stepping stone, I think, because as the old 82, 83 cards are gone huge value. Like you said, now we're going into the middle of the pool, and we got the 85s, and then we go to the 87s. I mean, do you see an end there's any sets like, hey, forget those? And we talk a lot about WWF stuff like that, but there's 91s of WCW. We can go to those at another time, but those have got to have some value too, I would imagine, correct?
But you know what? Even like the 1998 Superstars with The Rock, that stuff is on fire.
Well, of course it is, yeah. But that old WCW stuff, which I think the Impel stuff, I think they're still printing that stuff today, I think, but it's so plentiful. I've got boxes that are laying around, championship marketing on top of that too. But
well, they
that stuff
in the 92, the WCWs.
Which ones?
The 92s with the diamond stud.
Correct. Yeah, the magazine cards.
No,
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, the one from, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Topps UK.
Topps UK. Yes.
Yeah, but that 91 championship marketing, like honestly, that is one of the it's a pretty cosmetically appealing set. Like I really think those are nice cards. And but there's just not a lot in there. That Impel set, like what's really fascinating with this sort of resurgence of trading cards, like you're seeing Ric Flair's go for $40, $50 in a 10, and I get it, that's not like quote unquote huge money. Like
Yeah, but for a card you
honestly,
couldn't even sell for a nickel. I mean, that's great
yeah,
money.
exactly. I was gonna say like 2 years ago, like honestly, like I good, bad, or indifferent, like I don't even know anybody that would have submitted those. So what I think is really cool is, you know, all this stuff should have some value. I mean, if you think about the print run of wrestling cards, like that 91 Impel is probably on the higher end, I would assume.
And championship
Maybe.
marketing as well.
Well, but actually, but you don't see a lot of that sealed. You know, like I years ago I opened a few boxes, but you don't see a lot of it. But regardless, I mean, it shouldn't be worth zero.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think that, you know, we go back to the 85 Topps. I, you know, I said on the last show I talked with you, you know, I kind of, you know, flip flop my words, but I would argue that there's probably 1/10 of the wrestling that there is the baseball, and that might be high. Okay.
That's high.
Yeah, but I mean, it might be 1/20th, it might be 1/50th,
Might be 100.
it might be 100. Okay. But so when you think about wrestling across the board, there's just nowhere near the supply. Now we know there's not the demand. Okay. But what we do know is there's an increasing demand of nicer stuff. And so I just think at the core that it's really showing every single day on eBay that there's somebody willing to buy something from everything. And, you know, like if you told me that a Ric Flair 82 All-Stars and an 8 would be a $1,700 card, you know, I probably would have questioned that. So that said, you know, right now it's happening. So, you know, a $50 Impel and a 10, I mean, honestly, that shit might be 100 before you know it. It's hard. It ain't going back to 10. I'll tell you that right now.
That buys you a couple boxes more right there.
There's hardly any boxes really of 80s, 90s. There's not much out there to purchase.
Nope.
And even people are getting into the 2000s too. Just getting sealed product, it's tough.
It's true. It is. I got a buddy of mine back in California that has at least one of every box out there so far. I'm questioning. I wonder if I should hit him up, see if he wants to sell. He's a non-sports seller, so he carried a lot of wrestling products. And years ago, he wanted me to buy him out of his wrestling stuff, but well, we could never come to terms on it. But maybe I should hit him up again. See if he's
number.
Yeah, maybe he's got.
Hey, don't let him know that this video's on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, he won't. But he won't watch either.
Yeah, but no, I think the thing is that you know, production levels are obviously low, but then you've got the issue of ripping, and so, you know, for example, like I paid $450 for that rack box, right? And at the time, that was I felt a pretty good price, but a lot of people are investing in unopened, and if you actually look at some of the best investment results in the hobby, it's not just graded cards. I mean, unopened has been a tremendous area of investment. And so that's flowed over to wrestling, not exactly to the same degree, perhaps, as baseball and basketball, etc.
Well, what do you do with unopened product? Do you keep unopened product, or do you buy unopened product?
I'm a ripper.
Okay.
We're rippers because we want to get things graded,
Sure.
but yeah, I'm seeing how hard it is to get sealed product. So I was even thinking, man, I wouldn't mind just buying some, 90 classic and throwing it in the closet and forgetting about it and perhaps ripping that in 20 years.
Now, I'm a ripper. And so this is kind of funny because I have, for the first time in my life, kept something sealed. I was fortunate enough to get to buy some of Jerry the King Lawler's 82 All-Star sealed sets.
Mm-hmm.
And I still got 3 of those babies and the D-Peck 100 vault behind me. But legitimately, I have ripped everything. I mean, I ripped 3 of the sets that I got. I bought a total of 6 sealed. But I mean, all the boxes, all the, like Rob and I, we have a tendency to kind of follow each other around on stuff. And so, right now, if you look, an area of opportunity is the 91 Classic with the Undertaker cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cosmetically appealing set, the blue borders. And, I was buying some sealed sets recently. He bought some sealed sets. He bought some sealed packs. They're all ripped. And I tell you, I was so funny because it's not funny, but it's funny because I can tell you now. But about 2 weeks ago on a Friday night, I was fooling around I had bought 5 91 Classic sets and a few other things. So I pull this beautiful Undertaker card, and I got 2 of them, and 5. I had 5 of the base card that I wanted, but 2 of them were had the right centering and where I felt really good, and all of a sudden I wanted to reposition the card in the card saver. It's the first card I've ever damaged. And oh my gosh, thankfully, it wasn't like a Hogan or something like 82. I was ready to punch a hole in the wall. And so, I mean, it is one of those things that, where you're just like, seriously, And so, but that said, I think at the core that, there's a lot of these situations where, people like us, we take chances, and the sealed stuff is where the opportunity's at, and you just got to go for it, and listen, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, but if you're trying to advance your collection, or and I think both of us really tried to advance the wrestling card market as a whole.
Yeah.
Not specific to one set. You've got to constantly be trying to shoot for the best stuff, because it gives people something to shoot for, and it creates trophies.
Yeah, it sets a value, it sets a market, a level you have to kind of look up to.
Exactly.
Just like sports, anything else in sports too. So I mean, you guys legitimize the grading market of wrestling. It's that's a big deal, man. And again, it's reinvigorated me to want to collect again. That's for sure. So
come join the party.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So my wife supports it, so I'm happy there. So
well, what's so funny is I have never seen anything where you can invest a small amount of money and potentially increase your money. So take an Undertaker 91 Classic, right? So you pay $80, $90 now for a sealed set, up from the $19 it was, 10 years ago. But you get a 9 on the Undertaker, you got a $300 card on your hands, right? Well, you can't sell that raw for $300.
No.
So you pay $89, you get some shots at various cards, right? You invest $10, and in theory it becomes a 9, and boom, you got a $300 card in your hand. Becomes a 10, that's probably a 4-figure card right now. So there's no way that you could sell that card raw for $300 or $400, let alone $1,000. So I've just never seen anything in my life that is such a game changer other than card grading. I mean, it is what it is. And, it's like, I see a lot of people and they say, oh, I don't need PSA to tell me what the grade is. Well, that's fine. Okay. Tell that to yourself, but go try to sell that card for whatever you think the grade is. You won't be able to.
I'll piggyback on that, because I had put away 1990 Classic for a long time just because it's so plentiful and there's so many of them out there. But a month ago, I see Ultimate Warrior card at 127 and a PSA 10 go for $227.50. I was like, kidding me? I'm buying a box of 90 Classic, and that comes, and I instantly rip it. In the first 7 packs, I pulled 6 of those Ultimate Warriors.
I have so many of those. I found them in stores.
And then I was like, I mean, I don't know if it can maintain, but I was like, this could be potential 225, 225, 200. And then that's fun.
Those are the 90s too. I mean, I would imagine that diehard collectors want those shorter print 89 versions of those.
Absolutely.
I have a shit ton of those. I've got 6 of them sitting right. I got 6 of them sitting right here.
Let me tell you something. If you get an 89 Classic Warrior 10, listen, I've never pretended to know what card should be worth. Okay. Sure. The market bears that price. But I will tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, you put an 89 Classic Warrior 10 on eBay, you're going to get a really, really solid price. You know, so whether that person wins or loses, we know you won.
Yeah. Well, I got several of them right here. I pulled out. I probably have maybe 20 or 25 of them from the 89, and I pulled out I think 6 of them. But I thought, because I can't eyeball things the way you guys probably can. Going, that's a good solid 9 at least. I guarantee it. I have to gamble more than you guys. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, a 9 would be a good one for that card too. Just the fact that it's 1989.
It's got the date in the back, 89.
So I'll tell you, the easiest way to grade cards is you always start with centering. And you know, obviously corners are important. Obviously print is important. But if you, what I always do when I am sort of sifting through something is look for centering first. Because if you've got something that's say 70-30, you're wasting your time grading it. If it's 60-40, it's a chance. If it's 55-45, you're in the zone. If it's 50-50, then you've got great potential. So, you know, on lower price point items, the first thing you do is just look at centering.
That's what I'll be doing.
No, just seriously.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to basically sort of shed the fat. Because, you know, like if you take like those Royal Rumble cards we talked about earlier, there's no centering on those. You know, there's nothing to look at. But like the classics in particular, those have very defined borders. And you get something that just doesn't have really good borders, just chuck it to the side. It's not worth the money.
Excellent. That's great information, man. I just got to send my wife a real quick message like that, guys. I got someone outside waiting.
Yeah, DPEC 100 says, the borders are important.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, I knew centering was issues like that. And again, with stuff that actually bleeds with no borders, like you said, it's really hard to tell on that kind of stuff. Cause I'm looking at like the Stone Cold from 95, cards, main event. There's different variants because sometimes there's a cut, there's a light fixture on top. Sometimes they don't have a light fixture on top. So it's kind of hard to tell. Because they bleed.
They basically don't have borders. So I would just be looking at edges and corners for the most part. And I don't think it really matters on that card. Just thinking off the top of my head.
Okay. Because I have 3 of them I pulled aside like that I know that all 3 look really nice to me, but I kind of look at it and I go, God, I could see more of the light fixture on this one than I can the other 2. I don't know how that's.
And then sometimes if I could notice those differences, I might not throw that card in that submission just because.
Well, I don't know which one's the more the one that's supposed to be the one with the more light fixtures showing and the one not so with the light fixtures showing. I don't know.
Think it would matter.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to look at it that closely.
Gotcha. Well, very informative as per usual, guys. I'm super excited about collecting again. I really am. And
well, you got some really great stuff. It wouldn't take. I mean, you could fill up 15 cards real fast.
Easy. I've got probably.
That deserve to be slabbed.
I've got about 30 cards in here. I want to probably submit.
Well, I'm going to give you a little advice. So if you have 30 cards that you think are really good cards, you can always buy more than one Collectors Club membership. So for example, when I submitted the cards from the Jerry Lawler find, you know, I basically bought 2 PSA memberships to do that, right? So, but if you've got like stuff like take an 89 Ultimate Warrior, I don't know that I'd be spending 15, 20 bucks to grade those. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm big into is risk reward. So if you go back to, like, let's say you get a PSA Collectors Club membership and you spend the $250 and you get 15 card submission. Well, you can grade up to a $500 declared value. So that's good if you've got, let's say, an 82 Andre or an 82 Flair or Hogan, etc. But if you've got, you know, some of these items that are only worth a lot in a 10, what you probably want to do is get, you know, round up more cards and then get to like 50 or 100. You know, so, but I think if I were you, I would get your feet wet with like the Farouks and Shane Helms.
Sure.
And, you know, some of those like really cool ones. Send 15
What
of
is
those.
he out of All-Stars or what? Do you have All-Stars to submit?
Oh, I have some. Yeah, I do.
Well, I'd
There
be
you go.
throwing my Andre, Flair, Hogan, the big boys.
Yeah.
Collectors Club.
I got to dig some of that stuff out. It's just, now it's all here. Now it's a matter of going through it all and trying to sort through the boxes that I have.
Well, you got to find that stuff, because if an Andre 5, you know, has sold for $600 to $800 in the past few weeks, and you know, I think the thing is, like, you know, Rob and I both will agree on this. You know, we've been pleasantly surprised at, you know, the shift in demand and how much people like the stuff, but it wasn't, you know, it was, I guess, in many ways a matter of time. But if I'm you, you know, that 15, buy the Collectors Club membership, go dig out the good stuff on that, you know, because I think you have to, when you're grading cards, like, think about the sort of return on your investment. You know, one of the reasons that I shied away from 85 Topps back in the day was you've got all these action shots, right? You know, take like the O-Pee-Chee Series 2. And, you know, it's a cool set, right? Available in Canada. But there's so many action shots where you're like, you know, I don't really care to see Hulk Hogan in snow sitting on the front of a Corvette, you know? And that's not it's not really gonna drive collector interest. On the flip side, the Randy Savage and Elizabeth rookie, or, well, you know, we keep using the word rookie, but I think that one.
Those cards.
Well, I'll tell you, 450 cards in PSA, man. That means you got some nice inventory getting ready to happen.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully it's spaced out over time. Then it'll be like
Sorry about that, guys. Had someone at the door. I thought my wife was here, but she's out walking with my son.
Well, we were just saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah.
We named the show.
That's never happened
No,
before.
but back to what we were saying is that in your case, you know, because I really think that, you know, there's this sort of segment of people that don't like card grading, right? But once you do it, it's really cool, because, you know, it's really neat to see like some of these unique items you have, you know, in a slab, you know, where it's protected, it's official, it shows a rating. In your case, you have some incredibly rare stuff where you could, you know, I'll give you an example. I have some of the 1979 Rax roast beef cards, right? You know, I've got the full graded set. Well, there's only 47 cards ever graded. There's me and Bob from New York that have basically graded our sets. Well, you're going to find yourself in that position with just different cards. And that's really cool. And I think you're going to not only like it, but it's good for the hobby, because getting some of these sort of more rare cards in slabs, you know, it just basically helps. And I think if I were you, I would do it.
I'm going to be doing what I want to do is I have Comic Images put out was going to put out a set for Divas in 2000 that never got made, and they made 8 cards, promo sets, and they made 8 sets. I have 6 of those 8 sets. So
The only problem with something like that, it might be so rare that, you know, PSA knows nothing about it, except of course you know someone that's a researcher there now, so maybe we could.
Well, it's on the website too. It's been on there. It has images of the cards and everything on there too. So
you have 6 out of the 8 sets.
Yeah.
Well, that's your market.
They sent them to me.
You're fortunate because the thing is, and Rob can attest to this better than anyone, your website is what's considered a legit checklist. So anytime anybody's having a hard time getting something graded, as long as they attach your website, you're good. So in your case, well, you've got a checklist of those rare sets. So that's, you know.
And for me, for that most of that part, it's also about, I physically have to have it in my hand most of the times for me to actually authenticate, unless you know, a David Peck tells me or a Rob England tells me that this exists. I'm going to hold that to truth like that because I know that you guys are serious collectors and that it's legit. But for me, when I started the website, it was all about, if I didn't have it in my hand, it wasn't really real until I can confirm it in my hands like that. So most of the stuff, it's stuff that I have in my hands.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not somebody that honestly has found a lot of stuff that nobody has. I mean, so I am, you would more classify as that collector because, you know, I was somebody that tried to sort of make a play on known items, right? And so, whereas you've got some of these things that are, you know, so obscure that very few people have.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with them, but yeah.
It does get a little bit taxing to try to convince, you know, the grading companies to grade a particular card.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes I just don't want to deal with it. You know, one of the major cards that I have now is a blank back Hulk Hogan Wrestling All-Star. And of course, that thing needs to get slabbed, and I haven't even tried yet. But one day I'll try to make that happen.
So what kind of headaches, what kind of shit will they give you for doing stuff like that? Like, what's the process like?
For example, I have a collector's club at PSA right now of 15 cards, and I want to get those cards back, you know? Sometimes get a little impatient, but as part of that submission, I submitted some of the 1983 Jerry Lawler cards that basically only a couple hundred were produced in the Memphis area.
100.
100?
That's what he said.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get those graded. And of course, you don't have that information. Maybe I should work with you and get those on your site, but I have it in hand. And so a little obscure. And so, you know, if PSA is unsure, they're going to be on the cautious side and, you know, just say, you know, not enough info, no specs, and send them back to me. In the meantime, I could, you know, email them and let them know the complete checklist. You know, reference our, you know, vintage wrestling card site.
Sure.
Husker Halves, he's put them up there as well from my scans.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I forgot about Husker Have. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to get him on when he
stays. Site because you could see all the images at once.
Yep.
It's a nice feature. But, you know, right now they're unsure about, you know, grading those. And so I might just take them back and fight my fight another day.
This has been an eye-opening experience here. It's like that. I'm really excited about dipping my toes into the grading market now, because I am one of those guys that for a long time didn't believe in it, didn't want to do it, just wanted to collect. I just have my collection and be happy. And as you know, as you get over time, as you're collecting, you get extra stuff because you're buying collections or you're buying sets or you're buying boxes kind of thing. So I have a lot of extras. I don't want to dip into my actual personal collection itself per se, but I want to get my extras and maybe start getting into the grading world.
Oh yeah, when you get a couple dollar card and throw $9, $10 on it and you sell it for $100, You start digging back for those other couple dollar cards.
Well, since I had my conversation with David in our first talks like that, I started,
man.
God, I can't wait to get my stuff back from California. I'm going to go start digging through that stuff because, shit, I'm talking to David, like, I got to get some of this stuff graded, I think. I got to go through and see what I got.
Yeah.
Well, Rob is the king. He goes by Wrestling Card King, but he's the king because nobody has done a better job of finding cards and turning something that's of low value into real value. I mean, like it's fascinating. Like if you guys talk about, say, the Rocky Maivia 1997 Cardinal, right? And, for the longest time, that was thought of as like sort of nothing. And, now you've got people, I mean, I'll tell you this right now. You nail a PSA 10 on one of those, it's a pop 3, the last I checked, that's probably a $2,000 card.
That's amazing
Now,
to me. It's a goddamn game card.
well, I mean, listen, what I learned a long time ago is the market is bigger than all of us.
Correct.
And so what we think should be this or that is cool, but it's stupid because at the end of the day, it's all about what other people think. And so for what, Gary V, he kind of gave that card the rub and said it was the Rock's rookie card. And I'm telling you, I mean, it was like lighting a fire under it. I feel really stupid because I was the first person to get those graded by PSA, and I sold 2 9s for $50. Those are $500-600 cards right now. Shit happens. But
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
And I'm happy. Rob and I are closer than I am with other people. But there's a guy named Jeff Talladay that he's been a major wrestling card supporter, and
yeah, he's been chatting online on Facebook as well.
That's right. What's up, Jeff? He's our boy. If I had to sacrifice one of the Rocks, I'm glad it landed in his collection. You know what I'm saying? But the point was this: is I was buying those sealed game card sets for like $16 a piece. Okay, fine. I spent my $9. I thought, you know what? At least I got my money back. I paid for 2 of them. Well, now one of those game card sets is $400, $500, sealed, and whether that holds, listen, I mean, the markets change, they go up, they go down. It's sort of debatable. But the reality of it is that as market participants, you just kind of have to ride the wave. You can be early, right? But you also have to just sort of decide that, I may think this thing's stupid, but if there's enough people out there that think it's good, it is what it is. And so, I think at the core, when we got once the Wrestling All-Stars started selling for higher prices, it sort of legitimized wrestling cards, and then it branched out to where you can, at this stage right now, probably grade anything from wrestling that has sort of value and get something. Like there's a guy named Roger from Missouri. He sells all kinds of, what I'd consider low-priced cards. I mean, he gets like $50, $80, $150, for cards that I guarantee you've got loads of. So, in your particular case, if you could just find the nicest ones, get them graded, and maybe the market falls, maybe it stays.
Yeah,
the
but I
same,
don't care. I'll sit on them for a while if I have to, just like that. Just to know that I have grade.
But you'll win. You will win. You are somebody that will win. And where Roger, I mean, this guy, he kind of clutters up eBay because he has like 200 listings a week that mature and they relist. So you have to kind of, go through them. But the bottom line is, I mean, he sets his prices high and he doesn't really negotiate. Like we talked, before we got on air, I bought a Rob Van Dam 96 BBM for $150 from the guy, right? Well, you know, honestly, I was hoping to pull one of those from the 4 boxes, and you know, I'd probably have $20 in it and grade a 10, and you know, I'm done, right? But instead, I had to buy it from him. So in your case, since you've got such an immense collection, you're going to have a field day with this stuff.
I'm looking forward to going through and just going through all the files and getting them all out. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be real fun for you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to spend me more money, though, getting stuff graded, though. It's going to be a pain in the ass for that, but whatever.
No,
But
but
the investment's worth it. Rob,
Yeah.
you tell them.
no, you could, you know, it's amazing because if you think, in essence, $10 a card to get graded, so you really only have to hit, you know, you could hit on 1 out of every 10, and that's just $100.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you could turn that Ultimate Warrior to 230, or you hit that Undertaker, you know, it's a Yahtzee, and you get $1,000 off something that to add $10 to whatever wrestling card that you purchased years ago. You're going to have some winners in there. I mean, I have 450 cards at PSA right now, a lot of signed stuff. And what I'm kind of like looking at my submission, I'm just like, this will pay for my submission. Like this submission's $400. I subbed this card knowing this is my sacrifice. This is going to pay for my sub, and the rest are going to, you know, come with me. And
Kind of like talking to you guys is like motivational speaking, man. I'm so fucking excited about it.
it
I really am.
happens, though. It'll pay for itself. Like with all that I've amassed, like it's paid for itself. And it really wasn't that way until, you know, I was at this 8 years before grading, and it was a little rougher to sell and kind of make your money back. But the exponential factor that grading puts into your collection, it changes things. And rather than get out of that mentality of, oh, why do I want to pay someone to, you know, $9 or $10 to tell me, you know, what the condition is, you'll gladly fork that over.
Of course.
When that makes you money.
I get it.
But you're not really telling somebody, like, you're not paying somebody to tell you what the condition is. You're creating a commodity.
Correct.
You know?
That's how I'm
And
looking at it.
So it's not a, like, I think that the shortcoming of most people is, well, I don't need them to tell me it's meant. Okay, fine. The difference is if you're trying to sell it in the marketplace, you know, some people say, well, that's an 8. That's a 9. That's a 10. Well, guess what? In this moment in time, PSA said it's 8, 9, 10, whatever the grade is. And so, you know, you've got a lot of people, you know, I've never fallen into this category, but there's some people out there that will only buy 10s. Okay. They have no desire to try to figure out, like, you know, and I think Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V, you know, he takes a lot of heat. I'm a fan of Gary V from the
I'm a big fan of his as well.
Well, I think he's done a lot for the card collecting hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But he, in his videos, has said, listen, I don't grade cards. He goes, that's a talent. I'm not trying to, you know, figure that out. I know that I'm not there yet, and I'd rather just buy and know that I'm buying a 5 or a 6 or an 8 or a 10. Mm-hmm. So it's not, you know, listen, it's not for everybody. But the difference is that at the core, whether you're the grader or Rob's the grader or I'm the grader in terms of creating the product, that's where this market's going. And you know, card grading has been the lifeblood of wrestling cards. I mean, this stuff had, you know, there was no demand before grading. Okay, I bought. I've got 35, 36 O-Pee-Chee Series 2 sets, right? Vending sets, $20 a pop. Well, those aren't worth anything unless the Macho Man's in high demand. You know, they're not. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden, a Raw set is like $107, $150. You know, so anybody and everybody's benefited. So, anybody can sit out there and say, well, these guys think they're special, or they think their cards are special.
Hey,
Well,
I'm not going to look at it that way because of you
too
guys
bad.
now. Because of you guys now, I'm going to be, grabbing my cards, and I'm benefiting now, or I have the potential to benefit because of the groundwork that you guys have laid.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not debatable. And for me, I've been, I like the hunt, I like the chase. It's kind of like if you were going out hunting for a deer and you want a certain one and you get it, fine. But Rob and I, whether anybody likes it or not, have elevated the game for wrestling cards, and everybody wins.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm looking to, win on that.
Well, you
Really.
will, because you have product from way
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, I've just been sitting on it for a long, long time. So, and I enjoy the hunt too. I miss the days of going places to kind of just look around. And well, today with the internet, more guys have understand what the value of their stuff is. So you kind of still go out for the hunt looking for someone who doesn't really realize what they have, kind of thing.
But think about the Rocky Maivia card. There's probably some, shops around the country that have no idea.
Of course.
It's this little trivia game that they probably have with a price tag at $20 if someone walks into that shop and, pulls out their cash for it.
Yep.
There's opportunities to win big with that because they're probably not on eBay, or, there's a fair amount of them still not on eBay and have no idea with grade or anything like that. So there's potential there still.
I'm got a card show coming up here this weekend that I'm looking forward to going to check out. Definitely looking forward to it. Well, this was a real big eye opener for me, more so. I mean, my conversation with David kind of opened it before. It's like that. So I've been thinking about it, mulling it over. Now that my inventory is sitting here in Arizona with me now, I'm like really excited now, especially after this conversation. I know we're supposed to talk about 85 Topps. We talked about a lot of it, and it kind of expanded to a lot of things. And I agree. I think the 87 Topps is going to be the the kiddie pool, right now. It's like that. I really think it's going to be the next thing too as well. And I'm looking forward to grabbing more of that as well. I'd love to sit down with you guys again another time to talk about other card sets if you guys are interested. So.
Yeah,
of course.
I definitely wanted to be with Dave. I mean, we talk constantly, and
Yeah.
I do think we're the foundation of graded wrestling cards. So the chance to be on here with you and Dave, and
There's no question about that. But I really appreciate your guys' time. I know we've been rambling for a long, long time, and that's great.
No, it's good. I mean, listen, the bottom line is that I think it's pretty clear that all of us who've been at this for a long time, it's kind of like a brotherhood. And, like I have a lot of respect for the people that have laid the groundwork. I mean, we talked last time that, your site's been instrumental. And on top of that, like when PSA recognizes a site where like the checklist counts, that says a lot, and I think the other thing is we all can learn from each other, so, like if Rob, like I give an example, and I hope I'm not blowing up Rob's spot, but, he more than anybody has gone after sort of unique items. There's a Rocky Maivia action figure that has a cutout card. Okay. And Rob, maybe he's got it behind him. There you go. I mean, so look at that.
I got that.
Yeah. But think about that for a second. So it takes people to try. And I think where both him and I, have helped is we just tried, and Rob, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm going to give him one more sort of home run. Rob's the guy that uncovered the 1981 Hogan Poppy. And, and I think that, we've talked, people talk about wrestling rookie cards and so on. I mean, the 81 Hogan Poppy, I mean, that is one of the rarest trading cards from the 80s that you can find. I mean, he's probably got 10 of them sitting around. Always going to find one. But think about that. So if there wasn't this sort of paper chase, if there wasn't this grading chase, nobody would care. Instead, the fact that there's been the ability to sort of take this to the next level has caused, it's been this sort of treasure chase, treasure hunt.
Yep.
And, Rob in particular, I mean, and I honestly can say this, I get accolades for the 82, 83 All-Stars, and, obviously I've spent a lot of time there. But like Rob, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, he's introduced so many cards where he went to PSA, tried to get them graded, and you take the Hogan Poppy. I mean, how great is that for the wrestling?
Oh, Jesus Christ, look at that.
He dropping some heavy stuff. I can't see him. What's he got?
The poppies.
Oh yeah, he's got
about four or five of them there.
4 or 5, yeah. So there's like 13 known copies in the hobby, and Rob's got like 4 or 5 of them. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, where are you at? I can't see you.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, you need to talk, and the Zoom will take it to you.
Oh, okay. Oh,
There
my
you go.
light burned out. I have to replace my fixture here. I didn't know we were going to be talking so late.
Well, let's see the poppies. You were,
Oh, okay. So if you look at the pop report, there's only been 3 Hogan PSA 8s. There's no 9s. There's no 10s. It's only on the top card, so it's going to sustain more damage than if it was in the brick. So here's a PSA 8.
Wow.
1 of 3.
That's a big card. He's probably looking at $12,000 or something on that.
Another PSA 8.
Another 12,000. That's legit.
Here's a raw dog that I want to get signed. And then I'm going to crack this out because I'm a PSA guy. This is KSA out of Canada. And I'd like to get this signed too.
Yeah, so there's like 13 or 14 copies in the hobby, and Rob's sitting on 4 of them.
Oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. Well, I can tell you, the site from the Vintage Wrestling Archives is an inspiration for WTC in itself, because a lot of that older stuff didn't know about for me personally, because I had my stuff that I didn't know about, that I couldn't find information about. I found it there. Then I found more things that I didn't know that I wanted to get, and went out and pursued it because of that site and made it part of my collection.
Yeah, it's just great for everyone working together, whether it be your site and Steve putting up the stuff on, Vintage Wrestling Archives, and, Husker Halves is totally underrated with
Yes.
everything that Anthony Havlovic has put up, and allowed a marketplace for some people to buy some of these base cards that, really weren't available to people. So
Yeah, he specializes in a lot of international stuff. He's got a lot. He's really good at finding international
and
stuff.
there's some amazing images from some of these international cards that I think would look awesome signed. Just things that I've never seen before.
I got to reach. I spoke to him once on the phone. He was going to buy me out of my singles one time. Thank God I didn't sell them.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing about that guy, though, that's been fantastic is, so Rob and I are in contact, very frequently. Well, we've got a buddy, Greg Weiss. So people are on eBay, Weiss Squire. He sells some of the best wrestling cards. Well, that said, Greg, probably more so than anybody, has gotten a ton of them signed. I mean, Rob has some of the best signed cards, but Greg, I would argue, probably has the most signed wrestling all-stars of anybody in the hobby.
There's no debate.
I mean, I don't really think it's debatable. So that said, you think about Husker Halves. I mean, he has basically provided a lot of singles to collectors. And, Rob and I had a great time in North Carolina. It was so much fun because we got an opportunity to hang out and work with Greg. And what you'll find is, 5-10 years ago, nobody was showing up at these conventions with cards to get signed. Now people are showing up with cards to get signed. And so Husker Halves was instrumental and helping that trend just in terms of the inventory, but also like the more people just sort of do things with wrestling cards, the better it is for all of us. And so, I'll never forget at WrestleCon, WrestleMania 33, that's when I first met Tully Blanchard, and I was sort of telling him about the wrestling cards and stuff. And we had a couple of people show up to the table with a 1983 Wrestling All-Stars Tully Blanchard, and he goes, "Dave, what do you think this will grade?" And we're sort of making, having fun with it, but it's happening all over. And so that has really helped all of us. And, right now, obviously wrestling card conventions or I shouldn't say wrestling card, but wrestling conventions are down, because of obvious with the COVID, but this stuff's going to keep going. And so a shout out to Husker Habs, because he has really helped the hobby as far as providing singles for people.
He has, yeah. I've never bought from him before, but I did have, like I said, have a conversation with him one time, and I think I don't know if he's still there or not, but he was stationed in Alaska.
Oh,
I think that's where he's out of. I think that's where he sells all his stuff out of Alaska.
I got a box from him just the other day, and I don't even know where it came from, to be honest. But I thought
when I spoke to him, I thought he was out of Anchorage or something like that. Maybe because I think he was on a base, military base. So I'm not sure where he's at, but I have his number somewhere. I should give him a call and want him to get on one of these episodes. I think he has a lot of information.
Because it's incredible is what he's been able to provide collectors. And I do think that the value of being able to click on one set and see all the images without clicking on each card to see the image is a really nice feature that he had on his site that, on, future WTC, eventually, I don't know if that's a possibility, but
sure it is.
But I personally like that a lot.
Requires more work, but it's all about the love of the hobby. So
yeah,
it's a big.
I'm not really a tech guy, so I don't know what that entails. But
it entails a little bit. So I have to relearn WordPress because we're moving the site over, and I talked to GoDaddy. I have my costs. I did speak to Kevin Nash the other night, by the way. I spoke to him before because he left on Monday to go film he's doing some new movies, stuff like that. So the hold up there about getting stuff even printed was making sure that he was agree to sign stuff for me. And I asked him, how much would you charge me? I know we go back, but how much would you charge? I'll pay you. How much for like 50 cards signed? And I'll have them numbered, different numbers like that. He just said, we'll work it out. Don't you worry. So just send me the stuff. So I got the go ahead from him. So now I can talk to a printer and get that stuff printed, and then we'll go, and then I can get the costs and give the people their autographs for helping donate to WTC and getting it moved over. So I'll start the tier program, and we'll do the different levels and stuff, but it'll be happening here soon. So life interferes, but all right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Let's get together again and talk about another set. We'll talk off, we'll IM each other, whatever you want to call it, direct message each other. If you guys want to talk about specific other sets you want to talk about, it'd be great. We did cover more than 85. We took care of it. I figured we'd probably talk about the O-Pee-Chee sets. I knew it was going to come into play. Totally forgot about the Scanlens ones. I forgot about that. Yeah, other card sets would be great. You guys,
hey man, thanks for having me on. It was a great pleasure, and I think at the core, the more information we can put out for collectors, the better. And it was funny when Rob and I were talking. He was like, "Well, we're going to talk about 85 Topps." I said, "No, we're going to pivot to Scanlens. We're going to pivot, to O-Pee-Chee. Let's just make sure we get an opportunity to talk about everything." So, a pleasure to be on, and it's an honor to be on with Rob. And thank you.
It's an honor for me to be on with you two guys, man. I really appreciate you guys, making the time for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having the Wrestling Card King on there, and great to talk with you, Tony, really for the first time.
First time.
Yeah, and shoot, I don't have to talk to Dave for as much in the next coming, in the coming days, because we've got a lot here, but I
we'll be talking.
I'm sure you guys will be.
As soon as
I talk to Rob almost
completed auctions on eBay, we'll send some texts and screenshots. Can you believe this sold for such and such? But we need to
Nah,
slap.
but I tell you something, you know, the thing is that the nice thing about the hobby, like not even just wrestling cards, but just the hobby of collecting is you get to meet people,
Yep.
you know, and like I live here in Orlando, Florida, Rob's, and like way up there in Northern California in Eureka, right? Like the odds of us ever meeting are zero other than from the hobby. And,
Exactly.
you know, we've developed a very, very close personal relationship over the last 8-9 years. And, you know, I consider Rob one of my closest friends. So at the core, you know, I think what a lot of people forget is, you know, collecting's not, you know, look, I mean, we're in this to try to, you know, develop, you know, stuff for ourselves or
Well, either you're in it for monetarily, or you're in it for nostalgia, or you're in it just for the love of it. But you develop friendships out of it, which is awesome.
Yeah,
You
it
really
was
do.
really amazing. In 2012, work, you know, sent me to Orlando, Florida, and so I'm there in the hotel, and this is early on, and so you know, Dave comes by my hotel and picks me up and takes me to his house and gets me some dinner, and I get to see, you know, the D-Peck vault and
Oh wow.
That made you some cocktails.
yeah, incredible experience, you know, 3,000 miles away from home. And, you know, it's for things like that where, you know, I see an uncut sheet of Wrestling All-Stars, and yeah, it would be great, you know, for the Wrestling Card King to have an uncut sheet, but just like knowing in my heart of hearts, like where that should be, you know, and
It's in a good place.
D-Peck 100, you know, and granted I didn't have to pay a couple $1,000s for it, but that looks like a bargain now.
Yep.
But just knowing that, you know, its rightful place really was with the D-Peck 100 collection. And, you know, he's done the same thing for me because I'm really big into the signed Wrestling All-Stars, and, you know, and Dave's got some along the way, and, you know, we don't do a whole lot of trading or anything like that, but like I knocked on his door and he offered those to me. So it's really mutual, and, you know, it's really great as far as the relationships. And, you know, if you have those relationships, you really can build a stronger collection, because it just, you know, your reach is so much broader by having those close relationships with.
It's kind of how, you know, WTC was born too, because it's my relationship with David Porto, and that's how we met, because of my old website ComCollect, which was about, you know, wrestling and Playboy and Buffy and Star Wars stuff. That was it. That's what I collected, and he found me through there, and we became friends, and we were both living in California. Who knew? And we've been friends ever since. You know, since I don't know, 99, 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. So it's just the hobby brings people together sometimes, and you kind of build some cool relationships, and I like that a lot.
Well, and the other thing
have
is
other examples too, you know, as far as friends in Texas and Iowa and all these other. I'm not really alone, you know. I went to the National years ago in Baltimore, and, you know, running into people, and it's incredible.
most of us though don't have like locally like people that say collect, right? So it's also nice because it's like, okay, there's nobody I know in Orlando I can sit here and talk about wrestling cards. So guess what? Rob might be out in Northern California, but I could dial him at the 707 area code. And we're right there. Anyway,
That's
I
awesome.
appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Let's talk again soon. All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
We're out.